All right. Well, welcome, Springfield. Welcome to the Township of Springfield Planning Board meeting of September 19th, 2022. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with the Sunshine Laws. Notice was published on December 16th in the Star Ledger, which was the official newspaper of the Township of Springfield 2122, and posted in the Annex Building on December 17th, 2021. Can we have a salute to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
liberty, justice
and
for all.
justice for all. I think probably if we would have known it would have been long, we probably would have had everyone take their turn and do their own flag, salute to the flag, appoint someone each meeting or something. But anyway, let's do a roll call, Jen. Can we have a quick roll call?
Mayor Alexander Kaiser,
Present.
Committeeman Rich Huber,
Present.
Mr. David Barnett,
Here.
Mr. Andrew Schwartz is absent, Mr. Aaron Lawfer,
Here.
Mr. Brian Brendel,
Here.
Ms. Marissa Ruggiero,
Here.
Mr. Thomas Lopes,
Here.
Mr. Scott Wishna,
Here.
Vice Chair Sharon Kessel,
Here.
and Chairman Jeff Tiger.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So everyone's present on August. We had a planning board meeting. That meeting obviously generated minutes. We had two applications. The meeting minutes were posted on the Google Drive. I'm sure everyone had a chance to read completely through it. And if there's any questions on those meeting minutes, speak up. If not, seeing none, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the August 2022 planning board meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No, but Mr. Targar, I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
That's right.
Same with me.
And also-
I don't believe that
And
was
also,
Okay, so Mr. Brendel and Mr. Lopes
and me.
recused themselves from, they were not at that meeting and abstained from the meeting. Resolutions, we have two resolutions. The first one was for Kevin McGovery Testimony Trust, Cornell Associates. This was for an elevator, if you recall, 1 Cornell Parkway, block 3903, lot 16, final preliminary site plan. I know the resolution was out on the Google Drive. I had a chance to review it. Did anyone have any questions or concerns?
No. Motion to approve.
Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as written.
Motion to adopt.
Mr. Huber seconded. I think he waved.
Okay.
Seconded. Roll call.
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Committeeman Huber,
Yes.
Mayor Kaiser,
Yes.
Mr. Lawfer,
Yes.
Mr. Wishna,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel,
Yeah.
and Chairman Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
The next one was for Story Dispensary of Springfield LLC. This is for application 4-2022S, 130 Route 22, block 3106, lot 1, for preliminary and final site plan with conditional. It's a cannabis dispensary. The board heard the application and acted favorably at the last meeting. The resolution has been on the Google Drive. I read through it. I had no concerns. Would like to entertain a motion to adopt the resolution as written.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel,
Yeah.
Mayor Kaiser,
Yes.
Committeeman Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Wishna,
Yes.
and Chair Tiger.
Yes.
Motion
Perfect.
passes.
I vote yes too.
You abstained.
Well, I can still approve the emotion. The resolution.
I don't know, Glenn?
No, he cannot. He didn't vote for the decision that was made.
Thanks.
I withdraw my approval.
Aaron, this is just a whole meeting. Get out and vote, The next one, Pooh, we should have an attorney and two witnesses. This is for application the BOD of Springfield 6-2022S 34 Center Street, block 706, lot 20, preliminary and final site plan for a variance for a learning center. Mr. Disco, while we get the applicant on, you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is for an application for a learning center at the DMV that was presently moved from the DMV downtown to Route 22. I know the board has a copy of your letter and
Mr.
Uh,
Chairman,
yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'd like to recuse myself from this application.
Okay, that sounds fine. Enjoy
Mr. Chairman,
yourself. You have to stay for the rest of the application, so we'll see you at the next meeting.
All right, bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Mr. Chairman, same thing here. I have a direct conflict with the engineering consultant.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
fine. Enjoy yourself. You can go have a nice dinner.
Good night, all.
Good night. Anyone else want to recuse themselves? Nope. Okay, good. So
Can I
going
go
back-
have dinner?
no, you can't have dinner.
Oh,
See, if we started at 7, you would have been able to have dinner.
yeah.
Okay, so going back to the application, I know that everyone had a chance to review the letter from Keenan Hughes and Mr. Disco, but real short and sweet. This comes down to where it comes to the board, where there's no parking available at this site. It comes to the board for a review whether there's an ordinance that states anything within 500 feet, any building within 500 feet of a municipal parking lot, the board has jurisdiction to waive the parking requirements. So the applicant, I'm assuming, will put on someone from the Chabad and a planner to kind of talk through it. And what we have to evaluate is whether it's justification to waive the parking and hear their plan on how they go into it. Mr. Disco, anything you want to add before we open up?
I think you summed it up well, Chair.
Perfect. All right, well, let's bring in counselor and there were 2 witnesses, and let Glenn swear them in right in the beginning so we can get that out of there.
All right, he can swear them in, but I'm going to make a statement before they start testifying.
Sure, go ahead. Glenn, we'll
So,
we'll
The
take
first
down-
witness that I will be calling will be Rabbi Mendy Blasovsky.
Okay,
Do you want to do them both at the same time, Chairman Tiger?
yes, please.
Or
Let's
one
get
at a
it.
time.
So the second one will be Thomas Ricky of Stonefield Engineering. He's a licensed planner.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Rabbi, I know you're a man of faith, but I still have to swear you in, sir, or affirm you at least. So I'm going to ask you if you both raise your right hands. Do you both either swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, proceedings before the board tonight to help God?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, so Glenn, if you can just
Okay,
qualify.
Okay, hold on. Rabbi, would you state your name, spell anything that gets a little offbeat, and then tell us what your position is with the religious group, sir?
Sure. My name is Mendy Blasovsky, Blesofsky, Blesovsky with 1 S. I am the rabbi of Chabad of Springfield, the rabbi,
Okay.
director, and all that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi. And the other witness, please state your full name and spell it for the record.
Thomas Ricci, Ricci.
Tom, you're licensed what in New Jersey?
I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, been accepted by 30 plus boards throughout the state.
Your license is valid as of tonight?
That is correct.
Okay. Just for the record, just so that Apu and the chairman here, I'm going into maybe a dead zone. I may have to log back on, but you can start the hearing. It may be all right. It may not. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. The leaves are coming still strong. Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm done. I think council had something she wanted to say before you started, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. I just wanted to give a very brief overview, and then I will call my witnesses. As the chairman has indicated, this is an application because there is no on-site parking with regard to 34 Center Street, which is in the GC zone, general commercial. I would like to point out to the board just very briefly that Chabad is a Jewish outreach organization. The rabbi will get into the detail of the organization, but I want to make it clear to the board that while they do in fact engage in religious services, they are also there for social services, for adult education, for a Hebrew club for children. They make hospital visits, they make home visits, and they're there for counseling. They are not affiliated with any synagogue, nor are they to be deemed a synagogue. They are not. The rabbi is the only employee. There are no others. And I want to make clear that even though there's no on-site parking, the planner is going to give testimony regarding the fact that, as has already been referenced to, there is a municipal lot, which in fact is only 50 feet away from this building. And the board has the authority pursuant to ordinance. And that specific ordinance is 3523.1I, that they can waive parking requirements. The planner will get into the specific parking requirements, which are 15 spaces. But if the waiver is not given, we also meet the requirements for a variance based on the municipal lot parking and the fact that there's ample street parking. I want to make it also known to the board why this move is taking place. This is a lateral move for the Chabad. The Chabad has been functioning in Springfield for 10 years, and it has been out of the home of the rabbi. When the rabbi started, he had one child. He now has 6. So accordingly, his residence is really needed for his home life, for his residence space. And it's also a safety issue and a health issue with regard to all the children. So it became time for the rabbi to have the Chabad in its own location. I also want to stress the fact that, and the hours will be discussed by the rabbi, that this is a building that's going to be used not during the day unless there's actually a Jewish holiday, but it's really nighttime and it's also weekend use. And the last thing I want to point out to the board before I call the witnesses is the fact that, as I think you all know, this was the previous DMV. And the DMV operated out of that location for decades. And the DMV operated there for decades where their parking was supported by the area. I myself used the DMV and never had to go home because I couldn't find a parking space. So accordingly, this will be a much less intense use. In fact, we believe that it'll be a less intense use than probably almost any other entity you can think of that could utilize that building. And accordingly, we believe that the board can certainly grant the site plan approval and can grant the waiver or variance, whichever you so choose, without there being any substantial detriment to the public good, and that it will fit within the zoning ordinances. That having been said, as an overall brief summary, I would like to first call Rabbi Mendy Plasovsky to testify. And what I would like the rabbi to do is give a far more detailed overview of his operations, meaning the use of the building as proposed and the hours of operation. So Rabbi, if you would, I'd greatly appreciate you doing that for the board.
Okay. First of all, thank you for your time, Chairman and everyone. I appreciate it. I will try to make it brief, although as a rabbi, that could be challenging. So Chabad essentially is an outreach organization. We look to cater to the people in our community based on the level that they're at. We are not a membership-based synagogue or temple. We're very different than that. So primarily, for example, one of the things we do, we cater to the community. We'll visit people in their houses. We'll do counseling. We will take care of people at their level, where they are in their need, as the word outreach encompasses. That's what we, in essence, that's what we are. For people that need continuous inspiration, we do offer events, whether it's on, and primarily on the weekends. We have Shabbat events and we have a Hebrew club. And that is, we offer a class during the week for people that want ongoing inspiration. In the past several years, we've been looking for a place simply to separate family and organization. We've came to a point where we realized, we started off, we had 2 kids. Thank God at this point we're at 6 kids. We'll see what, the plan is in the future, God willing. But at this point, it came to a point where you just have to separate, little kids growing up in a home where you have ongoing events, and we decided we just want to take whatever we have and just put it into another location. When 34 Center Street came up as an option, we said, this is great, let's go for it. This is something we definitely would like to do. Just to understand where we are and what we do and how we do. My wife and I both work full-time teachers in Brooklyn. Our kids also attend a Jewish day school in Brooklyn. And therefore, during the week, our events are at a minimal, except when you have occasional holidays, and we're talking a handful of times during the year. And very often those holidays come up on weekends. I guess my point is that most of our events or programs or even the holidays fall out on the weekends. Considering you mentioned parking, I know that place, weekends, that the parking is a lot more available. I would indicate, our peak events have been, and maybe you've heard of it or seen in the paper, has been Hanukkah, our event at Veterans Park. That is the highlight. That's the biggest event by far in terms of numbers. That takes place at Veterans Park. We also have another event, Purim, that takes place at Chisholm Center. We very often do events specifically outside for people that are not necessarily going to come in. We want to outreach. That's the idea. We're outreaching to them. We're trying to engage them at the level that they'll feel comfortable at. A lesser, our third to the biggest, the next one would be the high holidays. And we feel for all, and the high holidays has been taking place in the past several years, either in our backyard or as we taste at the Hilton Garden Inn. We did over there and for many years. And we feel that considering all that, considering the timing of our events and the style of our events and the consistency over the years of our events and the average amount of people that would show up, the parking is therefore considered, I feel it would be more than adequate at its times.
Can I interrupt a second, please, Rabbi?
Yeah.
Chairman Tiger, this is a permitted use. It's
correct.
a permitted use. All we're talking about is parking. I think you have a good picture of what the rabbi intends to do. I think all you got to hear is how Mike Disco is going to respond and the planning testimony. This is what it is, and it's permitted. It's not even a conditionally permitted use, as far as I can tell. So unless I'm missing something, Mike Disco, please tell me. But I think the rabbi has done a more than worthy job of what his task was. But quite frankly, it's all permitted.
Yeah, no, Glenn,
I agree 100%. It's a permitted use, but the rabbi was just setting forth, because we need a parking
I get
waiver
that,
variance, what his operation would be. So you realize there's ample parking.
So Rabbi, I'll cut to the chase. I'll cut to the chase. At any given time, what do you feel the most parking spots that you'll need?
I guess it would be depending. I mean, so for example, you would say a holiday that falls out, high holidays or something. So if I had to, on average, I would say about 15 spots, something like that. If it would, this is on an average event. Let me start on a regular, I did an average event, a regular Shabbat. We're talking about 15 to 18 people on average. Many of those people walk. Many of those people are me and my wife. We don't drive on Shabbat. So we're talking, I don't know, maybe a handful of people, a handful of parking spots. That's on average.
And I'm sure your planner will testify the fact that the DMV had probably 50 people per hour there, and that you won't even nearly get anywhere close to what that demand would be.
Correct.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, very fair statement.
Okay. The only question I had that I wanted to open up to Mr. Disco was, so if there are people parking there, the township has a parking app where people can, pay to park. So that way it's convenient. I know that the township has recently raised the time. Usually it was 3 hours parking. Now it's, I believe, 6. So plenty of time that it shouldn't conflict with services or religious stuff that would require you guys to do, stop what you're doing, go out and deal with that. I wanted some sort of commitment from you that the members or congregants and so forth would be notified of this to avoid anyone being ticketed if for some reason they don't pay for parking. Just like any other township resident, I went to the DMV, I would have to pay for parking. Your counselor said she would go down there, never had a problem finding a spot. She would have to pay for parking. So what I wanted to do, and I think we'll open up to the board if there's anything, but I'm sure between you and Mr. Disco, you guys can come up with a mechanism, whether it's a letter to your anything that goes out, just reminding people that there is a parking thing to be able to, pay for parking.
I'll certainly communicate that to the members and people. Absolutely. Sure.
I'd rather people pay than pay $44 ticket, which is
a
waste. So
I'm sure.
I think we're in agreement with that.
Right.
Okay. So let me open it up to Mr. Disco. Anything you wanted to add? I know that I went through your letter. There's an area of some bushes that need to be kind of trimmed and cleaned up. I think we'll just make it as a condition of approval that that area, I don't think we need any new plantings per se, but that we cleaned it up to make sure it looks aesthetically pleasing. Would that be comfortable, Counselor?
Yeah, I just want to let you know that that was done over the weekend. Weeds were removed, and any future pruning of those bushes is going to take place, very shortly. It's already been arranged.
Fine,
But
perfect.
they're healthy bushes. There's no reason to remove them, and there's nowhere else to plant anything else.
That's fine. Mr. Disco, anything you want to add?
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. I can affirm that the DMV's been there at least 42 years. That's when I got my license. And it certainly generated more foot traffic and vehicle traffic and visits than this can conceptually be anybody could guess at. So it's really the board's power to grant the waiver. It seems very standard in that sense. Any tenant future would have to request the same thing. There is no ability on site to add parking. The building is really at the extent of the property line on 3 of the 4 sides. So I just don't see what option the board has if you want to have a viable property there.
Yeah, I think we would run, any approval would be run with the property, run with this applicant and use. If there's any other, if they ended up moving out a year or 2 or whatever it would be, that the owner would have to come back for a conditional use and for approval to waive that parking requirement. It would be for this particular Chabad only.
That's fair because
We're fine with
a future tenant also may not be a permitted use as
Correct.
well. So, yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Mr. Hughes, anything that you want to add before we open up to the board?
Well, the planner
I
needs
guess-
to testify.
I know, but
Oh, okay. All right.
yes, they may have questions for the rabbi.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the only other question, and perhaps this is for the planner, was just as it relates to the sign. I think based on the plans, it looks like you're replacing that sign, but the new sign will have essentially the same dimensions and location placement as the existing sign. Is that correct?
Well, if it's the planner, we'll have the planner answer that, but I believe that was the intention to match identically, so there's no sign variance whatsoever. But when the planner testifies, we'll open it up. Anything else before we open it up to the board?
Nothing else.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Brendel, any questions for the rabbi?
No questions for the rabbi. Thank you.
No questions. Mayor?
No questions, but just a quick comment to the rabbi. We're very blessed to have you in our community. I'm excited that this site will be used for something community based, and not only are you blessed with 6 children, but I'm hopefully that you're happy to be here in Springfield. So
Thank you so
for
much.
your program.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Perfect. That's very nice comments. Mr. Huber?
Maybe I missed it, but there's parking spaces next to the building. Whose are they?
The Mikvah of Yisrael. It has nothing to do with the Chabad. It's a separate entity.
Oh, I thought they had something around back when they got
There's a building back there, but it has nothing
I
to
know.
do with 34 Center Street.
But that the say 5 spots or whatever they are, nothing to do with Center Street.
It doesn't belong to 34 Center Street.
All right, thank you. No, I have nothing.
Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Barnett's out, Mr. Huber's out, Mr. Loeffler, Aaron?
Yeah, I have no questions, but I am familiar with the concept of what we're talking about here. I just to clarify, just to make sure that to erase any possible doubt. Right now, there's no set parking spots where he's currently practicing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Has there ever
The
been a
rabbi
problem?
answer that. It's his home.
Right, I know that. Is there there's no set parking? It's just at his home, correct?
Correct.
Or on a residential street.
Right. Has there ever been a problem with parking?
No.
So I just wanted to make sure that in case anyone had any concern, it appears to me that will never at any time be any problems with parking.
It appears to me, and I was going to make the statement at once we went through, that the DMV generated, I mean, I would see lines out the door.
Right.
You know, they handled parking there. I never had a problem with parking there at all. So I think that this is de minimis. This would be fine, but we'll hear from the planner and then make that conclusion all as a board together.
Okay, I have nothing else except I think it would just be a welcome addition to that part of town.
I agree. Mrs. Ruggiero?
No questions, same sentiment, that I think it's a wonderful use of the property. And
Mr. Lopes recused himself. Mr. Wishna?
No questions for the rabbi.
Perfect. Vice Chairman Kessel?
No questions.
Nope. And I would just say, I think it's going to be a great addition to that area of Springfield. Have some community activities taken down there, which would be good. Okay, so Rabbi, don't leave, because at the end of the application, I open up to the public if there's any member of the public, so you can kind of stand down and hang out. And we're going to bring your planner on just to talk a little bit about the activity and give some planning testimony about the variance, and then answer some questions about the sign, and then we'll open it up to the board again. So let me see your planner. TJ, you've already been sworn in, so you're good. You're both, don't lie. And if you can give us a little overview of the plan, the use, support the parking variance or waiver, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, be happy to. I'm sharing my screen. Can we confirm that we can see it?
Yes.
All right. So a lot of the points have already been made, which is great. Everybody's pretty familiar with the site, but we do see it in yellow right here. I'll keep it brief because I think everybody pretty much understands what we're actually proposing here. It's a really straightforward application. It's essentially just a change in tenancy. So this is the property here, fronting on Center Street. This is the municipal lot directly across the street that we've been talking about. We did submit a site plan. This was prepared by our office, dated September 2nd, 2022. So I'll just kind of zoom in. There's actually no engineering improvements proposed on here. This is just an existing building that's just proposed to be occupied by Chabad. Obviously, as you guys know, it was the former DMV site. Basically, we have some existing non-conforming conditions with regards to the lot area, the front and rear setbacks, and the building and the lot coverage. But they're mainly result because this is an existing building. It'd be pretty unreasonable to, demolish a perfectly good building in order to comply with those essentially de minimis existing nonconformities. So we'll just flip to sheet 2, and sheet 2 has the existing floor plan. Nothing about the interior is proposed to be changed. They're going to utilize the existing space within the building as is for the proposed Chabad. And then on the right side, I got a couple photos. This is the existing site frontage. As Ms. Relic mentioned, the landscaping was, improved over the weekend. The weeds were pulled, and the applicant fully intends to kind of neaten up these shrubs that are out front to just, refresh and upgrade the site. Going down, we'll talk about the sign. So this is an existing non-conforming condition. So for wall signs, the maximum permitted height, so from the bottom to the top of the sign, you're permitted 5 feet, and 6 feet exists. This is not a new sign. We're not planning to demolish the old sign and construct something new or larger. This is an existing sign. The only actual improvement that would be proposed are obviously to put the Chabad logo, just reface the sign so, people can identify the building, but this is an existing sign.
TJ, hang on a second. Council
Sure.
Glenn, is this, do we need to grant a variance for this, or it just continuing the non-conformity?
As far as I'm concerned, it's like the pre-existing non-conformities on the building, Chairman.
Okay, that's
Tiger.
fine.
So I think as long as he says that they're keeping it within the 4 corners of the existing sign, that's fine. And are there any other signs being proposed, sir?
There are not.
Okay, I think that takes care of the sign, unless Mike Disco thinks there's something that I'm missing, or
I agree.
or Keenan.
Sign's good. We can move on.
Cool.
Maybe talk a little bit about the parking.
Yeah.
We're gonna ensure that no one parks. I don't know if you can go back to the front of the building again, one more second. I don't think there's parking allowed in the front. I think that's a yellow stripe, right?
No, you can't park on here. We'll show that in the in my next exhibit. So I'll jump right to the parking. So we are seeking relief for the parking. You know, on our site plan, we required the 15 spaces. That's the 45 seats. That was a really conservative analysis, like the rabbi testified to. He anticipates really 15 to 18 people, which actually requires 5 to 6 spaces. So we are going for the variance or the waiver in that sense for the 15 spaces, but really most events, the requirement would be 5 to 6. And even that is not demanded because sometimes a lot of the people walk and it's really families just coming to these gatherings.
Sir, let's make your testimony even more straightforward. What's
Sure.
the maximum amount of parking that could be required given the footprint of the building? Is it the 15 that you're talking about, or could it even be higher?
Well, it's based on number of seats. So
Forget
it really
the seats.
depends.
I didn't ask that. You didn't listen to my question. What's the maximum number of parking spaces for a building in this zone that could be required on this site for permitted use? It's
For
well in
permitted
excess
use?
of 15, is it not?
Yes, it's at least double.
I'm sorry, it's what?
It's at least double.
At least double. And the fact
Yes.
is the motor vehicle operation probably is a good example of it requiring the at least double, right?
Correct.
So you're cutting it in half. Is that correct?
Correct. And
All right,
even
and
more
the
so.
benefits clearly outweigh the detriments, do they not, if the board decides to treat it as a variance?
Yes, they do.
And there's no other parking available on site, although there is parking in the area, as council has already pointed out in her opening remarks. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And are you exacerbating any negative impacts on the zone plan or zone scheme of the area?
No, we're not.
And it's pretty clear that this site provides a public benefit. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you have any other testimony, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to briefly sum up. So I understand we want to get this moving, but this is the availability of parking in the area. There are a substantial amount of on-street parking spaces on Morris Ave, Mountain Ave, as well as the municipal lots 1 and 2. During my site visit last week on Wednesday, I went at 5:15 p.m. This is sheet 3 of my exhibit, and the parking lot was almost empty. This is municipal lot 1. And then I walked down to the on-street parking in front of Springfield Library. There are 11 spaces. There was only 1 car there. During my inspection, there was a substantial amount of parking available. I don't anticipate this proposal having any negative impacts to the neighborhood.
Yeah, I think you were good. I'm good with your testimony. Mr. Disco, anything that you wanted from the planner?
I am satisfied, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect. Keenan, I think that answered the question about the sign. Is that correct?
Yep, nothing further from my end.
Nothing further. Okay, well then let me open it up to the board with any questions. Mayor?
I have no questions. This has all been answered.
Mr. Huber?
No, nothing.
Mr. Brendel?
No, pretty straightforward.
Mr. Loeffler?
No questions.
Mrs. Ruggiero?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Mr. Wishna?
One brief question for the planner on the survey that was shown as an exhibit. And it may be easier if it's brought up again.
Sure.
Screen to do that. So I can start talking before you get there, but it appeared like, actually not the survey, the next one.
Like the floor plan?
Yeah, it appears, and I don't know if this is just a formatting issue, but I'm assuming the hatched line is the property line.
Yes, this double dashed right here.
So is the building at all encroaching onto the adjacent property at all? Or is it right up against the property line?
It actually does go over the property line just slightly. If we look back to the bulk table, we listed them almost as negative setbacks. That's the distance that they go over the property line. But like we testified to, those are existing conditions. We're not changing those or worsening.
Okay. And is the adjacent property that it encroaches on residential zone or?
I'm not sure what it's zoned as, but it is a residential property. This would be to the north of us.
So having said that, is there any issue from Mr. Disco, from your perspective, that the building has this minor encroachment onto a residential property that could be residentially zoned?
No, it's again an existing non-conforming condition. I would think probably every time the properties are sold, there's a reconciliation in the deed of some sort of financial transaction, I'm guessing. For that. The primary encroachment is really at the corner of Center and Hannah, where the rounded property right away is, and the building, right? Perfect. The planner is zooming in on that.
Okay.
So, no issue
Just
from
this
our end.
piece. Okay, that's all. No other questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, with that, Ms. Kessel, Vice Chair Kessel?
No question.
Okay, and then I just have more of a statement that, I think that there was sufficient testimony to grant the waiver of the parking requirement, given that they're close to the within 500 feet or 50 feet within the municipal lot, and the fact that their use is going to be significantly less than what we had with the DMV. So let's open it up to the public at this point in time to see if there's any members of the public that wish to answer questions of the witnesses, and then we'll remand it back to the board to discuss some conditions. Apu, any members of the public?
I have one, sir.
Sure. Who is it from, and if you can bring them forward?
Mr. Paul Mazer coming forward.
Good evening, Mr. Maisner.
Maybe
You're
muted.
You're on mute, Mr. Maisner. Oh, there you are.
Hi, how you doing? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, I just
hang on one second. If you can read me your first and last name and your street address, and then we'll. If you're making a comment, that's fine. If you're gonna provide any information, then we'll have to swear you in.
okay, no problem. I'm just gonna make a comment. My name is Paul Mazer. I live at 43 Benjamin Drive, Springfield, New Jersey. I've been here about 9.5 years, and I frequently go to the Chabad house at its current location. I walk there. There's really no parking because it's a residential neighborhood. It's not terribly far from where I live. And just to emphasize one of the points, on Saturday mornings, where I go most often, you need to have 10 men. It's called the minyan in order to have services. We frequently wait and struggle to have 10 men. So how many people, the crowds that are going to be going and utilizing this are nothing at all like a DMV line. It's a small group, it likely will stay a small group. And, where it is right now, there really is no parking. And many people like me just walk. So,
yep.
That's really
Sir, Chairman, I'd like to swear him in. Just raise your right hand, sir.
Sure.
Do you swear the statements that you just made are the truth and the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You're not going to take anything now. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. So you affirmed it. You're not going to take anything back now that I swear you in, right?
No.
Okay, that's good. No, that's fine. I wanted to get you to affirm. That's all. All right. I think we're all done with you, sir. That was fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Any other members of the public that wish to have any questions? Seeing none, Apu, I'm going to close this matter to the public and remand it back to the board. I think there are really three things that are out there. Number one, that they'll work with Mr. Disco, cleaning up bushes, make sure that they're comfortable with that. That the parking waiver that we're granting runs with this use only. If they ever leave and they come back, whoever rents it, leases it, buys it, does whatever with the property will have to come back to the board. This is only for this only. The rabbi has agreed to work with Mr. Disco and their attorneys and our attorneys to come up with a reasonable mechanism on parking, so that way that their members are aware, so no one gets ticketed. And that I understand that the parking requirement has already been raised from 3 hours to 6 hours, so that's not an issue for any of the services and events that you'll have there. So I think those are the three conditions. I'll open it up to the board and they can add any conditions or anything. Mayor?
I have nothing. I'm ready to vote.
Sure. Mr. Huber?
Nothing.
Mr. Brendel?
Nothing. Let's vote.
Mr. Loeffler?
I'm ready to vote.
Jeez. Mrs. Ruggiero?
Nothing for me.
Okay, you want to get ready to vote. I know, I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm ready to vote.
Mr. Wishna,
No issues.
Vice Chair Kessel,
Nothing for me.
and I have nothing. So at this point, I'd like to entertain a motion so we can vote.
I'll move that we vote on this issue.
I'll second.
Okay, with the three conditions that I brought up before, work with Mr. Disco on the bushes, that any of the actions taken by the board run with not the property, but with this use only, and Mr. Keynes will word that properly in the resolution so that it protects the board, and that some mechanism on alerting the membership to the parking and how to, pay for parking or whatever the requirements are. So with that,
Wait, Chairman,
yes, sir.
Clara, did you get county planning board approval or a waiver from them?
No, but it would not be required.
You're wrong in a way because you still have to submit it. I
Oh, well,
agree
yeah,
with
but we
you.
don't, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Clara,
What?
let me finish. I agree. I don't think the county has any jurisdiction. You still have to submit under the law. So submit it and submit it for informational purposes. That's all. Just do it
No
though,
problem.
so that everybody's covered, okay?
Perfect. So any and all outside agency approvals that deemed by the board. So with that, it was seconded. So let's do a roll call.
Mr. Lawfer,
I vote yes.
Ms. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mayor Kaiser,
Yes.
Committeeman Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Mr. Wishna,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kessel,
Yes.
and Chairman Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay. I'm sure you want to, Counselor, waive readings so that way if you want to get started, you can get started at your own risk.
Yes, and I wanted to add to that the certificate of occupancy was already obtained by the new owners, 34 Center LLC, and the change of tenancy application had already been submitted and approved subject to tonight's hearing. So yes, I would like, with all due respect, to waive the resolution.
That's fine. We'll adopt the resolution on the October 17th meeting, but you're more than welcome to proceed at your own risk. Just
Thank
work
you.
three conditions with Mr. Disco and go right ahead.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. So for the board, just a reminder, our next meeting is October. I would take it one step back. Congratulations, Rabbi. Welcome.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
Thank you so much. And if I may, just thank you for your time and wish all of you Shana Tova, just a happy, sweet, good year. The Jewish holiday is coming up, Rosh Hashanah.
Yep.
And it's really beautiful to, continuously be part of a wonderful town of Springfield. And again, Shana Tova to you and your loved ones.
Yep. Thank you, Rabbi. Happy and healthy New Year to you. So the planning board will meet on October 17, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. virtually. And that's it. If I can have a motion. Well, actually, I have to open it up to the public with any other concerns that they may have. Apu, anything?
Seeing no hands raised.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close this meeting.
So motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. See you
I'm not
next
part
month.
of it anymore.
Thank you.
Right.